So I want to first just tell you a little bit about me, okay? So my name is Allie Finstrom, and I have a background in vocal performance, minor in theater from the University of Missouri, Kansas City at their conservatory there. I was very fortunate to work for about 8 years in the Twin Cities at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater and the Guthrie Theater, at which point my husband and I moved up to Duluth, and I became a guest artist at the Duluth Playhouse and helped begin a acting class for autistic kids and did a lot of assistant directing at their children's theater up in Duluth. 5 years ago, my husband decided it was time to go back and work on the farm. This is something we did not talk about prior to our marriage. I was not aware that I was going to become a farmer's wife. I grew up in the cities, in the Twin Cities, and I thought that that is where I would stay. For me, Duluth was a small enough town. But then I moved to Kirkhoven, Minnesota, and now I am the theater director at KMS High School. So, that is a little bit about me. I've been very fortunate to have worked professionally for many years and have gained quite a bit of experience, some of which I hope I can pass on to you guys. Okay, awesome. So, again, I'm Allie. I am 20 years old. I would have to say I've probably auditioned for as many as 350 or 400 individual shows in the time that I have been an actor, and I guess probably going into my back into my high school career as well. So, what am I hoping to give you in the next hour? Well, it's right there on your sheet. My goal is to help aspiring actors and just give them their knowledge and the tools to give their best audition. But I want to make sure you guys all understand that auditions are essential to putting together a great production, okay? So it is very important as actors that we bring our best so that the directors can make the right casting decisions, okay? Auditions, I think we can all agree, are extremely nerve-wracking and scary, stressful, anxiety-inducing, all those things. But we actually can relieve a lot of that stress and anxiety just by knowing how to audition and how to best prepare for an audition, okay? And if you do those things, I promise you, you will feel like you have given your best if you can prepare and if you know how to do it, okay? So, I will warn some of you, for those of you who have auditioned for many shows and maybe you've even been cast in many shows, some of this stuff will feel very basic, okay? Almost like, oh my goodness, I'm wasting time. Hopefully not, okay? Because the review is always good, right? If this goes well and if you guys are wanting more, we can maybe venture into the future and we can do some more like intermediate type of stuff where we actually do auditions. We do mock auditions and I actually critique you. Okay? First, what is an audition, okay? So, I wrote it down here. An audition is an appointed time. I actually kind of like to think that, in the business world, it's like an interview, right? So it's an appointed time where an actor, a dancer, singer, or we like to call them triple threats sometimes, right? Get to display their talents and skills through acting, singing, dancing, with the hopes of booking a job. In the professional world, we call it booking a job, okay? I'm guessing that the lingo here at the barn is probably more like, I want to get into the show, or I want to get the part, right? Professionals call it booking a job, okay? So that is what an audition is. It's a moment where you get to be one-on-one with the audition panel and you get to show off the best of you, okay? With the hopes of being a part of a show, or maybe getting the dream role, right? Okay, so who normally does auditions, okay? Well, it's usually a panel that consists of members from two different teams, right? We have the production side and we have the creative side. So the production side would be like your designers, your set, your lighting, your costume, stage managers. Creative would be the director, your music director, your choreographer, okay? So usually you'll have people from both of those teams in the room, right? We call it being in the room, okay? And most of the time the director likes to have a panel of people to help make those casting decisions. It's a big job for one person, so a lot of times they bring in people from both teams, okay? Sometimes, and I have done this myself as a director and as a casting director, I have actually brought people from the outside, right? So people who are not on my teams, I will bring in an outside person just to have that outside opinion. Because especially in like a smaller community theater setting like the Barn, a lot of people are return people, and the people who are making the casting decisions know the actors who are auditioning. So sometimes it's just nice to bring an unbiased person from outside and bring them in, okay? So that is who is auditioning you. So why? Why do we have auditions, okay? Well, I will admit that for many years as an actor, I did not realize that for many, many months, the creative team and the production team are actually planning the show, okay? So these teams get together and they talk about like what the right inspiration is going to be, what the vision is for the show. They even maybe sometimes start constructing sets, constructing basic costume pieces, things like that. And so by the time auditions happen, the production is well and truly on its way, okay? So the next step at that point is to cast the right actors in the right role, okay? And that is extremely important, like we said earlier, to create the best production you possibly can, okay? So that is why we have auditions. How do we audition, okay? I will say that the very, very first thing, the number one thing, is to prepare. If you don't do any of these other things that I mentioned later on, any of these other bullet points, the number one thing you can do for yourself is to prepare, okay? And that means doing your homework, okay? So we need to, once you know what show you're auditioning for, you need to do your research. You need to read the play. You need to figure out what's the genre of this show. What's the basic plot? Who are the characters, okay? Because a lot of times you will come into an audition and on the audition forms it'll ask, are you auditioning for a specific role? Well, you need to know who those characters are, right? Because there might be one that you're like, absolutely, this is me, I can do this is amazing. Or it may be like, whoa, I know I don't want to be this person. This is absolutely not me, right? So you need to make sure you know who the characters are in the show, okay? Make sure you read all of the audition material, please, okay? As a director, myself, and I know I've seen a few of the director notes for the Barn and their audition stuff. Most directors are very clear about what they want from you. They will give you full instructions and expectations for their auditions, okay? Yeah.
I was just going back with, if you don't care what character you want to audition for, do you have to pick one?
I think most of the time you could probably say any role.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you do pick one, will you be considered for others if they don't find you right for that one?
Good question. Because I will say on my sheets for audition forms, I will say, are you auditioning for a specific character? Yes. If so, name. And then it will say, if you are not cast as this character, would you be willing to take another role? A lot of directors will put that on their audition form. And then at that case, if you're like, nope, it's this or nothing, you can circle no. I wouldn't recommend that. Most people say, yes, put me in your show. Okay, does that make sense? Perfect, thank you, good question. Okay, so moving on, 16 and 32 bar cuts of music for musicals. 16 bars, that is a blink of an eye. in an audition. It's quick. 32 bars is a little bit better, but yes. So what are they, you're asking? Well, it is a small section of music that is cut from an entire song. So you take an entire song and you cut it down to either 16 bars of music or 32 bars of music, okay? Why do we do this? If every single actor came in and did an entire 4 to 5 minute long song, we would all be here well into the night, and nobody wants that. The directors, the creative team, they don't want it. And the actors who are sitting there waiting, they don't want that either, right? Most of the time when we are in auditions, we're ready to go, we want to get in there, and we want to get out, right? So 16 to 32 bars. And to be honest with you, most directors can decide whether or not you're the right fit vocally for something with 16 or 32 bars. They don't need an entire song, okay? So as a result, you want to make sure you pick the best section of the song that fits your voice and it will show off your voice best, okay? So, going on to the next one, these cuts can be chosen prior to the auditions by the music director, which actually I have seen before on the Barn website, or you as the actor get to choose your own 16 or 32 bar song that shows off your voice best, okay? So if you get to pick your own 16 or 32 bar cut, I would say you want to make sure that whatever you pick is attainable for your voice, right? And you also need to make sure you're keeping in mind the requirements set before you that the director has put out there. A good example, just because it's clear in my mind right now, and you guys maybe have already looked at it recently, for Wizard of Oz, the director has said very specifically, if you're auditioning for an ensemble, here's your 32 bar cut or 16 bar cut, right? But if you're auditioning for a lead, you need to choose your own 32, I think it's 32 bar cut.
16.
Is it 16? Okay, your own 16, yeah, 16 bar cut. But make sure it's the right genre, make sure it's the right time period, okay? So you just want to make sure that you have all of those song requirements in your head when you're picking that.
So when you say genre and time period, would you not use a song that comes from the musical?
You can. I would say that when a director usually asks you to pick your own 32 bar cut or 16 bar cut, they don't want to hear from the show. You absolutely can though. It really depends on what you prefer. I would say if I wrote that down, I would want to see what my actors bring to me. Because there's always callbacks. I can have, I'm giving an example, I can have London sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow at the callbacks. I want to hear something else. I want to hear what she thinks she sounds good on. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah.
If they give you that genre, and let's say you don't know a ton about musicals or any of that,
Yeah.
what's the best way to research, like, I think it's 1940s to 50s, is like, how do you do that? Like, how do you then go, okay, well, I'm gonna go Google it, and like, you know,
Exactly.
how do you pick that, and yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly what you do. You go on Google and you say a list of musicals written from 1930 to 1950, and they will all show up.
Okay.
And then you can say, oh, like if your daughter's the one auditioning, right? You would look at what shows there are and then ask her, what of these shows, do you know any of these shows? And then, okay, so if you know that show, do you know any songs from that show? You know what I mean? And then you can kind of pare it down from there. Yeah.
So if you're auditioning for a musical, when you should probably pull a song, you're saying, from another musical, if not that one, like not just a pop song from that era, just from another musical.
Yes, that is for me personally as a director, that is what I would want to see.
Okay.
And again, I am one person, I am one director, okay? As an actor, that is also what I would do. I would go through and I would find, because again, there's always callbacks. And sometimes even in the room, your initial audition, it has happened to me before where I've come in with something, I give 16 bars of something that they've asked for, but it's my pick. And they'll be like, great, now sing from the show. Like right on the spot. So, yeah. Good? I love the questions. Yes, perfect. Okay. The other thing I would say too, when you're picking out your 16 to 32 bar, 16 is really tough to do this, but for 32 bar, if you can make sure it tells a story. Just because you're singing, that doesn't mean you're not acting. Okay? So if your 32 bars can have a beginning, a journey, right? A journey, an arc, a character arc, and an end in 32 bars. It's tough. It's tough to find those cuts, but they are out there. So, many directors will provide a pianist to play your 16 or 32 bar cut. If you are using an accompanist, make sure you have properly marked your music and it's organized. Okay? Be very kind and courteous to your accompanist because they can make or break your audition. Okay? So if you come to them with your own 32 bar cut, right? If you are just singing from what the director has already previously provided, okay? You don't need to worry about the piano player knowing what they need to play because they will have those instructions. But if you have decided that you are going to audition, say for like a lead for Wizard of Oz, if you've decided you're going to bring in your own 16 bar cut, you need to make sure that it's marked properly, okay? So what I like to do is I actually like to X out anything that's not being played and use like a red Sharpie, right? Like here's your brackets, this is where you start, this is where you end. You make it very clear to your accompanist what they need to do for you. Okay? You also, and more and more theaters are doing this, you also can have the chance to use like a track for your audition, which is great as well. So make sure you bring your device, okay? A lot of times they'll provide a Bluetooth speaker. I believe that the barn will provide a Bluetooth speaker for the auditions coming up. But don't forget your device with your track on it. Yes? So with your piano accompaniment, if you're choosing your own piano or your own 16 bar cut, make sure that the piano music is not overly difficult. Do not go in to an audition with a Sondheim piece or a Jason Robert Brown piece because your piano player will look at you cross-eyed and go, are you kidding? Okay? Those are they're amazing songs, amazing composers, and accompanists who have practiced that music for a show performance, no problem. But in an audition setting, if you walk in and say, here, play this Sondheim stuff, and it's weird measure marks and all sorts of stuff, things will not go well, okay? The likelihood of mistakes will through the roof. And then you and your piano player aren't together and it's discombobulated. So just make sure that you're keeping in mind your piano player when you're picking your 16 to 32 bar cut, okay? Also, try not to do songs that are extremely overdone. So,
give us an example.
yes, okay. So a good example, like 10, 15 years ago, at the height of my auditioning time, I had a friend who was casting a show. And she told me, oh my goodness, if I hear On My Own for Les Miserables one more time, I'm gonna chop off my lip. So just be aware of like the musical theater songs that are super popular and just try and steer clear of those, right? The ones that we are all singing all the time right now, like Burn from Hamilton and stuff like that. Just try and keep that stuff in mind. So, okay. Moving on. Dance combinations, yay! Some of us love this part of the audition, and some of us are like, let me just fade along, okay? This, I would say, was a learned thing for me. Of the three things, singing, acting, dancing, I would say dancing was my least favorite. I am a strong mover. Okay? And in auditions, I would say most of the time, however, I do feel like it's becoming more and more common that you are provided a dance video before your auditions, which we'll get to in a second. But most of the time, it's a cold dance combination. It's a let's strap on our shoes and let's learn a combination right here and now, right? It's a little nerve-wracking, right? So we all come together and we learn something on the spot. You have a couple runs to try and somewhat put it together, and then you're like, okay, now just the two of you. And you're like, oh my goodness gracious, right? This is what I'm gonna say about that. Those cold dance combination things, unless you are an amazingly trained dancer, which maybe some of you are, in which case, congratulations. I have always found that I do so much better, and the feedback I get from casting directors is so much more positive if I just keep my head up, I smile, and I just have fun, okay? I'm not perfect. In every single dance combination I think I've ever auditioned for, I made mistakes. But I think because I looked up and I just had fun, they were looking at this and they weren't looking at the fact that I was not at all doing what I should have been doing. Yes? And this is coming from someone who actually did cats at Chanhassen Interview. So if someone who is a strong mover can get cast in cats just by looking up, smiling, and having fun, right? Thankfully the dance moves did come, right? Because we have the rehearsal process. But it is terrifying right in the moment to have those cold dance sequences. But just have fun with it. Have fun with it and smile. Okay?
Do you think they're also looking for how you handle mistakes?
Yes.
Yeah, on the spot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and we will talk about that. I love that. I love it. Okay. This is also something extremely awesome that the barn is doing this time around, and this does happen sometimes. The choreographer will actually give you a video to practice ahead of time in the privacy of your own home, which I love that, right? Because then we get to make all the mistakes at home, right? In front of the mirror at home. So make sure that you take advantage of that when you are given those, I mean, that's like a gift, right? Here, have this choreography a week ahead of time or whatever it may be. Make sure you're taking full advantage of that. That is part of your prep, okay? That's part of walking into your audition confidently because you pretty much already have that dance combo memorized, okay? Awesome. Okay, monologues and sides. Now this goes for plays and musicals, okay? So depending on the director's preference, monologues can either be chosen by the director from the actual source material prior to the auditions, or they will ask the actor to choose a monologue that shows off their own skills, okay? So I would say with this, if you're choosing your own monologue, make sure that it is within the same genre. Okay? You don't want to be doing a dramatic contemporary piece when you are auditioning for a Midsummer Night's Dream Shakespeare, right? A comedy Shakespeare. Okay? So really keep in mind what you are auditioning for and try to kind of walk in that parallel, right? Of like, this is kind of what you're looking for. So there's that. Sides. What are sides? I forgot to put this in there, so sorry. Sides. Sides are sections of scenes between different scene partners. So sometimes you could read with one other person. Sometimes you might have 3 people reading a side together. I think the biggest side I've ever read is like 5 people, and that was like too much. But the sides are actually taken from the source material. And a lot of the times, at least for me as a director, I typically use sides more in the callbacks. When I'm really trying to like hone in on like who I might have be who, that's typically when I use sides, but sometimes you will get sides just for the very first auditions. It really depends on the director. And then the other thing that you need to be prepared for is that many times you will, even if you're given sides ahead of time, you will also have to read cold. And by reading cold, that means That means like, okay, you're gonna read this now, go. And you're like, right? So, and that could be that's like the dance combo, like on the spot thing, right? It's like, here, read. And those can be very, very nerve-wracking. However, we've done our research. We've read the play. We know who this character is that we're reading for, right? We maybe even know what scene we're reading. That is why we do our research, okay? That is why we prep, okay? So that helps you kind of get through those cold reading type nerves and all that stuff. The other thing is that you may read just once for one role, and they'll be like, thank you, that was great. That's all we need to see. That does not mean you're not cast. That may actually just mean that's the person. Check, go, we're moving on. Okay, so you need to know that that doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't get the role or you're not in the show, okay? But you may also read for many different roles, and you need to be okay with that as well. You may say, I want to be Glinda the Good Witch. Again, we're doing Oz just because I know it's on everybody's mind, okay? So they may have you read for Glinda the Good Witch. But then they may be like, okay, great, now we want you to read for the Tin Man. I don't know, I'm throwing it out there. But you just need to go with the flow, right? And because we've read the script, because we've done our prep, we have seen those lines. And we know what the Tin Man is, right? I mean, we all know what the Tin Man is. But everybody kind of understand what I mean? Okay, perfect. All right, moving on. Wear what is appropriate. So many times, and I think this is because I deal with junior high and high schoolers for the most part now, people show up in the most random of things. You know, we're doing a dance call and someone's wearing like a super tight dress and we're doing like high kicks. How was it? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So let's just talk about this really, really quickly, okay? For musicals and plays, it's pretty much the same thing, okay? Except for musicals, you really want to make sure that you are wearing clothes that can show off the lines of your body and that you move well in, all right? But let's talk about it. So comfortable. We want to be comfortable, okay? But that doesn't mean your dirty, wadded up sweatpants that were just in your hamper. Does that make sense? Okay? You still want to be neat, clean, tidy, but you want to be able to move, all right? Shoes should be sturdy and easy to stand and move in. Yes, I say stand because I've actually witnessed someone come in heels and they literally like walked into the room and they were like, hi, I'm here to audition. What does that say to the director or the choreographer if they can't even walk in heels? Okay, make sure that you are in shoes that you can be yourself and you can feel confident in, stand strong in, okay, all of that. For musical auditions, if you have dance footwear, I would bring all of it. Bring it all. Bring your jazz shoes, bring your character shoes, bring your tap shoes. You never know. You never know what they are going to ask you to do, okay? If you do not have dance shoes, don't fret, okay? I would maybe wear a nicer shoe for your, like your sides and your song, but then put a nice tennis shoe on for your dance audition, okay? I would recommend wearing a solid colored t-shirt, not black, not white, like a nice color, a color that looks good on you. I feel like all over Instagram right now they've got those like color videos like where everyone's like, they pull off the different colors. Anybody else? Anybody else know what I'm talking about? Anyway, find your color. Find the color that makes you feel great, that you think you look the most beautiful and vibrant in, and wear that. Wear that on top, okay? No weird, crazy prints. No words. Okay, because as an audition panel, we're sitting there and we're watching you do your audition, and my thought goes to, what is that person saying? What is that saying? What are they advertising? Okay, so no words, okay? And then hair, for those of us who have luscious long hair, including Cole. It's got nice, luscious, long hair. I think most of us in here do. Please, 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 back away from your face. Now, my lovely ladies, that could be just something easy like this, right? And you can still have your hair down and curled and beautiful, okay? But away from your face. We are not going to want to cast you if we cannot see anything you are doing, emoting, telling us as far as our storytelling, okay? Okay, perfect. Moving on. Yeah, of course.
Why not black or white shirt?
I just feel like it's kind of just been one of those unwritten rules for years and years and years. You just don't, like, you could wear your dance jazz pants or your black knit skirt or whatever, but a color makes you stand out, okay? Like, and again, there are a lot of you in here, and I wrote down all your names. I'm trying to know everybody's name, but I'll be honest with you, I don't remember your name. But if you were wearing a beautiful, like, jewel tone teal shirt, I would say to my music director, oh, the girl in the teal, the girl in the teal. And I would literally, on top of your audition form, I'd write girl in teal. Because visually I remember that. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah. Yes, London.
What should you do with bangs? Like, should you pin them back or?
You know what, with your bangs, I'm cool. Because I can see your eyes. Now, if you were like in that like that weird yeah, then I would say find a cute way to like kind of pin them back a little bit. But where your bangs are right now, I can see your eyebrows and I can see your eyes. Because so much of us for actors, you know, with our expressions, we use our eyes, we use our eyebrows, right? We use our eyebrows more than we think. All right, fabulous. Essentials, we need to bring them, we need to have them. Pack them the night before. Okay? So you're not going, well, I need to get there, okay, where's all my stuff, Okay? Just be like, oh, it's time to leave. Okay? Helps with anxiety, right? Prepare, prepare, prepare. Okay. Audition forms. A lot of times you will need to print it out and then fill it out ahead of time. Or they'll have the form actually completely digitized and you can fill it out before. Sometimes you won't have the opportunity to fill out your audition form until you get to the theater. In which case I would say bring a writing utensil. Okay? Bring a writing utensil with you. Headshots and resume if applicable. I don't know, does the barn typically? No. Okay. And that's okay. That's totally okay. If, however, you decide to audition outside of the barn, or like at St. Cloud, I'm guessing, or the Twin Cities, they will ask for a resume and a headshot. Okay?
And
Yes.
agencies in the cities are really picky about these headshots.
Yes.
And the resume on that.
What goes on that resume?
Well, you
So-
can look at mine, but
Yeah.
basically anything you've really done.
Yeah. And if you're curious too, there's so many, again, Google's a beautiful, wonderful tool. A lot, yeah. It has your name on it and everything, and it has all of your, you know, your education, your past experiences, a lot of details about yourself, including your height, your weight, your eye color, all the things. But you can definitely Google that if you're wanting any more information on what a resume or headshot is. Other things to bring: your music, your script, your monologue, your sides, any of the stuff that you can print out ahead of time and just have with you. I would say bring it. If you can print it out, bring it. Even if you have it on your phone, even if you have it on your device, because you never know what the Wi-Fi situation is going to be in the theater. And you may be in a spot where you can't go back into the email and look at the music. So at that point, it's like, oh, I'm so glad I printed it out and I've got it in my hand, right? Maybe that makes me seem like an old lady to be like, I just want it on paper in my hand. But right? It takes away that anxiety, right, of will my phone work, will I be able to pull up what I need, all that stuff, right? Backups, print everything out you can, okay? You want to make sure you bring your device or your phone if you're using an accompaniment track, okay? Water bottle, I always like to bring a snack because you never know how long you're going to be here, okay? And then change of clothes, shoes, if applicable. Sometimes there have been auditions I've gone to that I have worn like a black knit skirt with my top for my in the room audition, I would call it, right, where I do my monologue and I do my music. And then for the dance call, I will take my skirt off and I will put on my jazz pants, change my shoes to a character shoe, and then I'm ready for dance auditions. Okay? So it just kind of depends on what the director notes as what is called for. Okay? Okay. Your audition begins sooner than you think. It does. So, even before you step into the actual room, the actual audition room, you are being evaluated. Right? How are you treating the people who are actually running the auditions? Okay? How are you interacting with the other people around you? Okay? You are constantly being evaluated because people who make casting decisions are going to be both inside the room and outside the room. Okay? So it is important to know that your audition begins the moment you step into the theater. Okay? Unpopular opinion maybe, but I think it's super important as well that you turn your phone off. Put it on airplane mode, turn it on silent the moment you get into the theater. Because phones, ringing, all that stuff, it can be distracting to you, it can be distracting to others. It can also be very distracting to the audition panel, especially when it goes off during an audition, which that has happened to me before. Right? Basic, but it's in ink, so it's true. We have to be on time. Okay? If you sign up for an audition time slot, which I believe that happens more and more regularly now, where people are actually asking you to sign up for an audition time slot, you want to make sure you arrive with plenty of time, right? You need to get in there, you need to get acclimated, you need to see all the people, you need to feel it out, okay? So make sure you arrive on time. And it's not a good look, honestly, if you are just barely getting in here at the skin of your teeth. Because what does that say to the directors and everyone making casting decisions, right? Is this really that important to them? I don't know. Okay? All right. So, we want to make good use of our downtime. What do I mean by downtime? I mean all the time that you're sitting out there waiting and getting stressed, right? All that downtime, okay? So even though it's fun to chat with our fellow auditioners, you want to make sure that you do stay focused, like when it's time to really start like getting ready to go in, or like if you're, what do they call it in baseball? You're in the hole or on deck. You know what I'm talking about? You do. I'm glad you know what I'm talking about. Oh, this is I'm new to the sports stuff too. My son is like, yeah, so I'm learning. But anyway, when you know it's almost your audition time, you need to just kindly excuse yourself. You need to focus. You need to get yourself ready. Okay? So make good use of that time. Also, and I cannot stress this enough, and again, I'm just going to say it. I'm not saying that any of you would do this, but auditions is absolutely not a good time to be gossiping or speaking negatively about the other people auditioning around you. Okay? Instead, you want to make sure that you're using that time to encourage each other, because you guys are all in the same boat. You guys are all out. Even though I feel like I've auditioned so many times, every time I go to an audition, I feel like a fish out of water, right? I feel like I should know better, right? I've done this so many times, but it's a very nerve-wracking thing. So encourage each other, build each other up, okay? That's really important to remember, that you guys are all in the same boat together, right? Some of you may have more experience than others, but that just means that you can be a leader by encouraging those people who need a little extra encouragement, okay? Okay, nerves. They're normal, and they're good. They are a good thing, okay? I tell my students this all the time. If you were not nervous, I would be concerned. Because when you are nervous, that means you care. You actually care. You want to do well, okay? So you need to embrace that. I tell my students all the time, and I tell myself all the time, because I still get nervous about stuff. Nerves are good, right? What you need to do is you need to embrace that feeling, like those butterfly feelings, and make them work for you, right? The butterflies, you know, when we see a butterfly, if you've ever been to like a butterfly atrium, they're all over the place, right? I challenge you to think about this. This is like how I like to visualize it. I'm going to use those butterflies and I'm going to make them fly in formation for me, right? So use that feeling, that adrenaline, use it, harness it, okay? Use it for confidence, okay?
Can I throw something in here?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if this is true or not, but for years when my kids were little, when they would tell me that they were nervous about hockey tryouts or whatever
Sure.
they were doing, I would say, did you know that being nervous and being excited feels exactly the same?
I love that.
And
Yes.
they play that back to me now.
Yes.
I don't know if it's true or not, but
Isn't that wonderful when your motherly wisdom
See?
comes back and it's like, you're like, oh,
sometimes.
you've done good, Mom. You've done good. That's awesome. No, I love that. I might steal that from you. That's great. That's great. So, I mean, every actor here, I think we can all agree, we have all been nervous about something in our life. And I think in an audition setting, it can be even more magnified. But it's how you deal with your nerves that can really make or break your audition, okay? So, what can we do, right? Some of you said, and I'd like to get out of this, the fact that I want to just feel better and not have so much nerves and stuff. Honestly, the being prepared is number one. Practicing, visualizing. For me, okay, these are some things I do. Okay, so we prepare. We work on the material, right? We do our research, we work on the material. Then, the other thing I like to do, especially if I've been in this audition space before, I will actually visualize myself in that space. I will visualize what I'm wearing, I will visualize the people. If I know who the director is, I will picture that director's face, okay? I will try and recreate what I'm about to do, what I'm about to see, right? Because, again, prep, mental prep, okay? So, I practice in front of the mirror a lot. You wanna do an entire, we do dress rehearsals in shows all the time, right? Do some dress rehearsals. Put on your audition stuff. Walk into a room. Do the entire audition. Walk out of the room. Do it a few times, okay? That will help you. That will help you put yourself into that moment. One of my favorite things to do, especially with my voice students, is, I don't know about you guys, but I know when I get nervous, my heart rate just shoots through the roof, right? But when we're practicing at home, if we're by ourselves, we're like, no big deal. Like, no nerves. So something I really like to do is I like to make my students, and I've done this myself, do jumping jacks. Like, I'll do 30 jumping jacks, and then I will press play on my track and I will try to sing my 32 bars with my heart rate going and out of breath. Because that's what's going to happen in the room. Our heart's going to be pumping, we're going to feel out of breath, okay? Again, how do we harness that energy? How do you harness that? Where do you breathe, right? When those nice long lyric vocal lines that happen when we're nice and relaxed and we're just by ourselves in our room, we aren't going to make those long vocal lines when we're nervous and our heart is pounding. So what adjustments do we need to make? Right? When our heart is pounding, things like that, make those adjustments beforehand so that you're prepared and you know. You know, oh, I know I'm going to run out of air right here, so I better make sure that I take a breath here rather than here. Does that make sense? Okay. So really, it comes down to prep. Okay? All right. All-around presentation is important. So, smiling and having eye contact as you enter the room can not only relax you, but it will relax everyone who's behind the table. Okay? I know from experience on both sides that this is true. If I walk in and I'm smiling and I have eye contact, hi, London, it's good to see you, whatever, right? Hopefully, did you feel at ease Because I was making eye contact and I was smiling, right? So, and not only that, but you have a sense of whether you feel confident as an actor or not, the people behind the panel will think you're confident if you come in with a smile and eye contact. Okay? So there's that. So you should always slate at the beginning of every audition. Okay? Even if you know the people who are sitting there on the audition panel, you should always slate. What is slating? Okay? What is slating? This is one of those professional acting words. You know, I know you do. But you want to make sure that you introduce yourself and you let the audition panel know what they are about to hear. Okay, so I gave an example, right? Where, good afternoon, my name is Jane Doe, and today I will be performing tomorrow from the musical Annie by Thomas Meehan. And then you go into your song. Okay, again, you may be best friends with every single person sitting behind that table. I don't care. You still slate. Okay? And during that time, that is when you smile, make eye contact, and all of that good stuff. But at that point, you need to make sure you look up. Not here, not here, not here, right? So if I was auditioning for London right now, I would look just barely above her. And why do I do that? Because if I was auditioning and I was singing right at you, right? That makes you a little uncomfortable that I'm staring right at you right now. But if I'm right up here, just right above her, just barely above her head, she's still seeing the intensity of my face. She's seeing everything that's going on, but I'm not making her feel uncomfortable.
And this is when you're actually doing your monologue or when you're talking to them, you don't want to do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. When you're actually just having a conversation with them, and you're slating and all that stuff, you can absolutely make eye contact.
Okay.
But when you are actually doing your monologue or doing your song, you want to be just above their heads. Yes. Okay. Do not apologize or bring attention to your mistakes. We are going to make mistakes. We always do. I think there has never been an audition of mine that I haven't made a mistake. But I think probably 8 times out of 10, I've been able to just brush it under the rug because I don't bring any attention to it whatsoever. Okay? So, just know that an audition is a living, breathing thing that is happening in the moment, and stuff's going to happen. Stuff will be out of your control, and things could go wrong, and that's okay. Okay? You want to go with the flow? Do not stop. Do not stop. If you stop in an audition, what does that say to the director? Well, if they stop in an audition, well, they could just stop in a performance. And we can't stop in a performance, right? So don't stop. Don't stop in your audition. Keep going. And don't make one of those silly faces.
How do you feel about when they get done with their audition, they come up and shake your hand?
Oh, yes. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. Yes. Perfect.
I would say a fourth of the people don't,
Mm-hmm.
but yet there's some that do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are some that do. And I would say for the auditions that I have been a part of, I don't know if I've ever shook hands, but I have gone close to the table and just said thank you, made eye contact with every person, that kind of thing.
I felt more comfortable when they did that versus
Okay.
come up and they, put their hand out
Sure.
and shake them.
Yeah. I don't typically shake hands, but I always thank them for their time. Always. Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to stand out in a good way. So the main component of your audition should be authenticity. Okay? Be who you are, because there is no one else that is you. You are uniquely you. Okay? And there are things that only you can bring to characters. So embrace that. Whatever that may be, embrace that. All right? So, you want to be willing to make big, bold choices. Okay? You don't want to be boring, you don't want to be safe. This is what I always say from behind the table. If they're boring, that means they're forgettable. I will not remember you. If you bore me, I will not remember you. Okay? Be willing to make big, bold choices, okay? Telling a story. Telling a story. That's what we do as actors. We tell stories. So even in your audition, you should be doing that. You should be telling a story. Okay, make a friend, all right? So I know before I was on the other side of the table, right? Before I became someone who was on the audition panel, as an actor, I would always find those people intimidating. It was like they were up on like some like pedestal and they were untouchable and all this stuff, right? Just remember that they are humans too. And I would say 9.99999 times out of 10, they want you to do a good job. They are rooting for you, okay? So, don't feel like you can't have a conversation with them if they ask you questions. Feel free, answer those questions. Maybe ask one back to them, right? They are people, have an authentic connection with them, okay? This is something that's harder to do. It's easier said than done, but go into auditions having no expectations. It's hard. It's hard. But going into an audition being like, I have to have that role or otherwise I will die. What that does is it makes the stakes for your audition that much more unattainable. So if you just go, I want to have the best audition I can have, whatever that may be. I've prepared, I've got my bag together, I've got my audition outfit on, my audition form is filled out, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the best I can do. Okay? Without being like, I have to get that role or otherwise. Because what that does is it, right? Does that make sense? Okay? It helps with your anxiety to just say, I'm going to do the best I can. And I'm going to walk out feeling like, man, I was authentically me and I did the best I could. Okay? Okay, yeah, so you go in, you do everything you can to prepare, you go in confident, you make authentic, bold choices, you make a connection, you tell a story, and then you leave. Leave it. You've done what you can do. Leave it. Okay? As actors, we love to hear compliments. Don't ask for validation from your audition panel. These are examples. These are ones I've heard. Like, la, was that okay? Well, do you want me to do it different? I mean, I can do it different if you want me to. Did you like me to? Because I can just do it over. Or I could just do a 16-minute rock. I mean, what does that say to the audition panel? Insecure! Insecure. You finish that note strong, and you say thank you, and you get out.
Do they give you feedback? Do they give you feedback?
Yes, sometimes I do, depending on, and I've been in auditions where I've received immediate feedback, yes. Again, it comes down to the director, the time slot time. I mean, if you're talking about, like, say, Wizard of Oz auditions, I think that they are expecting a pretty big number of auditioners to come through the door, in which case, the director is probably very quickly going to be like, thank you, thank you, thank you, right? And more of the conversational feedback type stuff will probably happen at callbacks. But if you're auditioning for, say, one of the plays here, where maybe there's only like 16 people that come to audition for 5 roles, right? And they have a little bit more time to talk initially with the actors, sometimes you do get immediate feedback. So again, it really kind of comes down to the director and how much time they have. Does that answer your question? Perfect. Okay, okay, last page. Confidence, it's a powerful tool. We are actors, but I have found that most actors are extremely insecure. So, you need to be okay with being seen and being heard. That moment you have in the audition room is your time to shine. It's your time to show off what you can do, okay? So be willing to be out there. Be seen, okay? That's what it should be. Don't rush, right? It's your time, okay? Stand tall. Sometimes this is, you know, you come in and you're like, Ally, and I'm gonna be, what does that say? It's I feel really insecure, I don't really want to be here, right? If you come in, hi, I'm Ally, I'm really excited to be here, thanks so much for having me. Today you will hear blah from blah. Not that, but an example. Huge difference, right? Huge difference. Be willing to be seen and heard, okay? Okay, remember that it could take many, many times of auditioning to either get into a show or to land a role, okay? So just keep that in mind. Every audition is a fantastic learning experience, okay? Always, we come back to this, always thank your accompanist and your audition panel for their time before you leave the room, okay? Again, common courtesy, audition etiquette 101, so important, okay? And make sure that you stay positive and encouraging during the entire process, all right? So if you, again, finish your audition, thank you so much for your time, I really appreciate it, hope you have a great day, right? Puts a nice period on the end of the sentence, okay? So always make sure you say thank you. All right, watch and learn. This is one of my favorite things about auditioning, and I have come to, as I did it more and as I prepared and I was able to relax into the process of auditioning, I realized that auditions themselves are fantastic learning tools, okay? So one of the best ways we can learn how to audition is actually by watching other people audition, all right? So when you have the opportunity, sometimes you don't, right? Sometimes you have closed auditions, and in which case you don't really get to see other people auditions. However, sometimes they have open auditions where you get to see your fellow actors audition, okay? Make mental notes of things that you actually thought they did well and things that they definitely didn't, and oh my goodness, I would never ever do that, okay? Make those mental notes. And then you can use them and implement them on your next audition. This is something I also really like doing when I have completed an audition, is once my audition is complete, I always go back and I think through my audition and I say, all right, what went well? What didn't go so well? Okay? And then you want to work towards making the appropriate changes for your next audition. Okay? Okay, so where and when? All of that stuff. Where do I get this information? What's going on? Okay, we've got social media. It's a fantastic tool. Follow the local theaters. Follow their social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I know the Barn has like all of that, right? Yes. Follow all that stuff, because when they announce their show season, when they announce auditions, when they announce casts, when they announce tickets go on sale, all that stuff, it'll all appear on your social media. And a lot of those social media platforms will provide links. You can just click right on it and it'll give you all the information, all the dates and times, okay? For like school, theaters, a lot of them have mailing lists, emailing lists, right? Get on those emailing lists. Does Barn have an email list? I'm pretty sure they do. I'm on it. Yep, perfect. Again, links to all the information you need, okay? You can even just go to the theater's website, whatever theater that may be. We live in a day and age where if a theater doesn't have a website, they probably are no longer existing, right? Every theater has a website. So go to their website and see what they have to offer, right? In St. Cloud area, or I know that there's a lot of other theaters in the area. So, you know, auditioning is very stressful and nerve-wracking, but if you take that time and you prepare, you visualize, you practice, all that stuff, you can walk into the room with confidence because you have done the prep, okay? And it is also important to just keep in mind that actors may have to audition multiple times before they get into a show. I have auditioned for so many things that I did not even get a call back to. Okay? So that's just the way it is. It's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the actor's life. As long as you embrace the actual audition and showing off what you can do at the audition, and you prepare, then you will leave feeling like, hey, I did my best, and that's what I want for you guys. So, yeah.
If you are practicing and auditioning and preparing and just not getting cast, is it ever appropriate, assuming you have an outside relationship with the casting director, whatever, is it ever appropriate to ask for feedback on how to improve your auditions for the next time?
Yes. So I have had that happen before, and I have actually done that before in my career. I have spoken with the director, and I think as long as it is handled professionally.
Yeah, why didn't I get the part?
Correct.
How can I do it better?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I think most directors would be willing to meet with an actor, but you have also have to prepare your heart and mind for them possibly being very honest with you.
Absolutely.
And I would think that that would be what you would want, right? If you were asking for constructive feedback, you would want them to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
So I would say yes, as long as it is it can't be like the audition list is posted, boop, 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 tick, 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 send. It is audition list is posted, let it simmer. Let it simmer. Then at the appropriate time, just send up a nice email, set up a time that is convenient for both of you in a neutral place, right? And I would highly recommend face-to-face. Sure. Because even over the phone, like I could be like, no, you did so good. Okay? So face-to-face, always good. As actors too, let me just throw this out there. You have got to appreciate the people who are working their butts off backstage for you. Because they are the people who make you look good. Do not take them for granted. It was so fun meeting all of you guys, and best of luck in all of your future acting endeavors. Hopefully I'll see all of you on the stage somewhere sometime soon.